Hello there my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. It is I coming at you once again, your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg. And today, we're going to be talking about Star Wars deleted scenes. And if you know my channel, then you know it's one of my favourite things to discuss. Deleted scenes give you better insights into the creative process. Ideas George Lucas originally had that were later scrapped, and that might have forever changed the movie had they been left in. More often than not for the worst, but sometimes for the best. And none make for better conversation than those found in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. We've still got a few days left of 2025, so I thought, while we're still celebrating the 20th anniversary, let's talk about it one last time. Now it must be said that when it comes to deleted scenes, their importance varies. There are some scenes, especially in the prequel trilogy, where you understand why George cut them, whether it was time constraints, or because they break the flow of the film, or maybe because they're just a bit ridiculous. You see them, and your response is, alright, I get it, I see why this did not make the final cut.
I'm pretty sure that beep is down.
But then you find deleted scenes that are so important and contribute so much, you really wish they had been left in. And for me, Revenge of the Sith has so many of these. But the one we're talking about in this video, my friends, I would argue, is essential. So essential in fact it could have formed the foundation of another spin-off. And because it shares themes with Andor, politics, rebellion, anti-Palpatine sentiment, I like to unofficially call it the Andor prequel that never was. But maybe someday Lucasfilm will return to it. And I'm really not exaggerating, I truly am baffled that George cut it. It's one which gives so much extra depth to the relationship between Padmé, Palpatine, and Anakin. And the key person from that trio for this one is Padmé. In the deleted scenes alone, she underwent an entirely separate arc that we never saw in the film, and it gets to a point where, had she lived, she would have founded the Rebel Alliance much sooner, and galactic events would have played out very differently. Now the scene in question involves the delegation of 2000. It was a group of concerned senators near the end of the war who were worried by the way Palpatine was amending the Constitution, while both maintaining and expanding what were supposed to be temporary executive powers. Now in the last 2 decades since Revenge of the Sith, the Committee of the 2000 has appeared across several canon sources. So while the scenes that were cut don't appear in the final version of the film, they do still count. And the scene we're talking about today is the third of the delegation scenes. Let me break down each one, and then we'll get to the juicy stuff. The one scene, and I would argue the 2 very important moments, that George should have left in. So, in the first of these scenes, we're taken to Bail Organa's office on Coruscant. He sat with Mon Mothma, Padmé Amidala, and 3 other senators. And did you know one of them is being played by George Lucas's eldest daughter, one of 3 Lucas children who appear in the movie. But this scene is indispensable. It's the birth of the delegation, Bail and Mon discussing their worries about the Chancellor and fear for the future of the Republic.
We have decided to do what we can to stop it.
Now here's where Padmé's role comes in. In this initial scene, Padmé denies Palpatine's corruption. She maintains Palpatine as one of her oldest friends. He served as ambassador when she was queen. They're both from Naboo, and the relationship goes a long way back. But Mon reminds her of everything that has recently transpired, the major red flags. She starts to sense the death of democracy, but clarifies that she's not a separatist. The committee is trying to preserve what is left of the Republic, its integrity, its Senate, and the values they believe the Chancellor should be upholding. Ultimately, Padmé agrees, and the group creates the Petition of 2000, formally protesting Palpatine's actions and demanding a ceasefire, while also demanding Palpatine return his powers to the Senate.
I am the Senate.
Not yet.
The petition further demanded the abrogation of the Sector Governance Decree. This was in response to Palpatine installing power through sectorial governorship, giving selected governors power through sectors they were assigned. The slow and secret birth of his empire. And the first meeting ends by Mon telling everyone in the room to keep their delegation a secret, to keep this information from the ones they love. The camera pans over to Padmé, and that's a nod to the audience that she has to keep it from Anakin, who does, by the way, eventually find out. And the craziest thing about these scenes is they're some of the best dialogue of the entire trilogy. It's so popular to mock the prequels for being very wooden and stilted, but Genevieve O'Reilly and Jimmy Smits steal the show. Like I say, from my point of view, it's a great prequel to Andor. So now we move on to delegation scene number 2. This one takes place in Padmé's apartment, and which George Lucas titled Seeds of Rebellion. In this scene, Padmé proposes that if they're going to confront Palpatine, they should bring the Jedi into the loop, and she says she wishes to discuss it with only one. But once again, the senators thought it was best to keep this a secret, to try and work through governance, through the current system, before alerting the Jedi.
Make a motion in the Senate where that kind of a request belongs.
And so now we've gone through the first 2 delegation scenes, we come to the scene that this video is about, the most important one of all, confronting the Chancellor, face to face, in Palpatine's office. What could go wrong? Well, quite a lot. This scene isn't just important in terms of Padmé, but in terms of Palpatine's manipulations of Anakin, ensuring his turn to the dark side. So at this point in the movie, Palpatine has already appointed Anakin as his representative on the Jedi Council. The grooming of Anakin is nearly complete, but he hasn't yet revealed himself as the Sith, the one they've been looking for. He's been denied the rank of Master, he's doubting Obi-Wan, the Jedi Order, and he's extremely conflicted. But his final turn has not yet occurred. But this scene is Palpatine's way of planting the seeds of doubt about Padmé in Anakin's mind, and it connects really well to his paranoia about Padmé and Obi-Wan, and why he later chokes her on Mustafar. So Palpatine looks at Padmé and the other senators with disgust, and through his grit, he reassures them the appointment of governors will not interfere with the duties of the Senate. But when they confront him about a ceasefire, the end to the war, he gets a little bit aggressive. Padmé simply asks him, "So you are pursuing a diplomatic solution to the war then?" And Palpatine, really holding back, says, "I said I will do what is right. That should be enough for your little committee." The senators realize that in that room, in that moment, there is nothing more they can do. They've expressed their distrust in Palpatine, they've expressed rebellion through the petition, and there was nothing more in that moment they could have done. And so, Padmé thanks him, a formality because the animosity is insane, and then they depart from his office. But while all of this was going on, Anakin stands at Palpatine's right-hand side, a visual metaphor of his allegiance and of things to come. You can almost see the silhouettes of Vader and Palpatine. But Anakin is torn, because Padmé's his wife. He knows she's trying to do the right thing, but in his mind, he's the one Jedi Palpatine trusts. Sidious has been a mentor to him since he was a boy. And in a really strange way, Anakin is rather defensive of Palpatine, more so of Padmé, but certainly to the Chancellor. Look at the way Anakin reacts when Obi-Wan starts to distrust Palpatine. But once the senators have left, Palpatine says to Anakin, "Their sincerity is to be admired, although I sense there is more to their request than they're telling us." Anakin is confused and asks him, "What do you mean? Surely Senator Amidala is to be trusted." Little does he know Palpatine is manipulating him and testing his allegiance, because then he says, "These are unstable times, Anakin. Senator Amidala is hiding something. I can see it in her eyes." Anakin's already a bit of an insecure mess, and because he's becoming suspicious of everything he's ever known since he left slavery on Tatooine, his master Obi-Wan, the Jedi Council, Palpatine is now trying to create division between Anakin and the one thing he loves more than anything in the world, his wife, who Palpatine knows he is terrified to lose. Just like the Plagueis the Wise speech and the immortality promise, this is just another one of Palpatine's mind games. So when Padmé shows up with Obi-Wan on Mustafar, Anakin's thinking back to this conversation. And if you want to take things a step further, you could argue this was when Palpatine decided he was going to get rid of Padmé, once and for all. And this plays into the theory that he's the one who killed her, sucked out her life force. The real reason she died, it wasn't from a broken heart. Now, even though Palpatine has tried to kill Padmé in the past, or at least signed off on it, this was the moment he wanted her eradicated, because had she survived, the rebellion would have been so much more powerful from the word go. Share your thoughts in the comments down below, my dear friends. Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you, always.